Go ahead and hit that record button. Perfect. All right, guys. Well, good morning. My name is Teresa Doherty. I am the coordinator for Business and Information Technology programs here with Virginia Beach. And it is my pleasure to share with you a little bit about the Foundations of Creative Coding and Computer Solutions course. So this is for the 2020-2021 school year, which of course is super unusual, as was the ending of our last year. So this recording will be both for those teachers who are new to the class entirely, because that's always good for folks to kind of see how all of this works and be able to navigate the resources. So some of this might be overlap for a few of you. It will also include some of those updates because, of course, we do have a bit of a unique situation this year. And so we want to make sure that we highlight some of that stuff that we've got available for you. So the way that this is going to work, I have those of you who are attending this session live have the opportunity to chat. And inside that chat, you can speak with one another or you can direct questions to me. These may or may not be answered during the course of the recording. However, because we'll have them on the chat, we'll be able to go back and I can address those later so that those who look at this asynchronous video later on or view it in an asynchronous training later on will also be able to see those questions and get those answers, because I know a lot of times those are things that are kind of universally asked. So with that in mind, let me go ahead and share my screen with you so you can kind of see what's going on. Let's see here. All right, so hopefully you guys can see my screen where I've shared, right now I'm in the actual Schoology group for the Foundations of Creative Coding and Computer Solutions, so you can kind of see what's going on, and I'm gonna navigate us through here. So for those of you who are new to the course, this is a middle school exploratory 9-week course, and there are a lot of different content areas that may teach this. So you might not necessarily be a business and information technology teacher, although we definitely have plenty of those who are teaching this. You might also be coming from FACS like Sarah, or you could be coming from even world languages, physical education, music, or the arts. It's really kind of one of those exploratory courses, elective courses, that is taught by a lot of different teachers at the middle school level, and that's because it's non-credit bearing. So it's something that while it's always ideal to have those who are in the content area teaching it, that's not always possible, and those are site-based decisions. So we want to make sure that they're able to fill the needs at their school the way that they need to. So this course is an exploratory course. That means that you're going to go over a lot of content very broadly, but not very deeply. It is also one of the courses that we have added local competencies to heavily, and I will talk a little bit more about that later. However, what that means in general terms is that we've taken a state course, which is the Computer Solutions course, and we've added a lot of coding competencies locally to kind of bulk up what's being taught in that course, because there aren't currently middle school exploratory, non-elective, or non-credit bearing coding courses available. So we wanted to make sure that was something that we could offer to our middle school students. We think it's important that they're able to explore that, and so that's why we did that. That's how we kind of got to that point. So the Foundations course is the first course in a 3-part series that students could potentially take. So it starts with just kind of an introduction to some computer solutions topics, and we'll talk about that in just a second. And then it moves very heavily into the coding. So what you're looking at right now is the kind of the landing page. So usually when you arrive at this group in Schoology, it, I think, starts you on the updates, and then you kind of have to choose where on the side tabs you'd like to navigate. This probably needs to be updated from last year, but generally speaking, it just kind of gives you an overview of what this course is and what it looks like. So, and I think I kind of covered that before, but those basic software applications and some coding fundamentals, but things move pretty quickly. So you're not, you know, don't start to worry too much if you're not familiar with those things, because like I said, it's all relatively basic. Now, something I will tell you, you'll see in here some information about you're going to need to create an account with code.org, and code.org was in our platform known as Clever, which within the Virginia Beach school system is something that that's used pretty heavily. It's just a great kind of single sign-on space. Every school has one where you kind of go there and it recognizes you as a teacher and can automatically populate your classes. And it really is intended to be something that makes life easier for teachers and for students, and of course for their parents. Over the summer, they have opted to replace Clever with a different platform known as ClassLinks. Now, I know that you're probably going to get some information from your site about the administration or your ITS or TST, probably a combination of all of the above, about what ClassLinks is and how it's supposed to work. In general, I can tell you that the idea is that ClassLinks works very similarly to Clever, in the sense that it's intended to be a platform where all of these things are housed and you are able to access, automatically being recognized as a Virginia Beach school teacher. Your classes are automatically tied to you, and those should be populated based on all that information that's already in there. So this summer, the summer of 2020, they are working on making that transfer from Clever to ClassLinks and getting all of that set up, hopefully before school starts. We are in August right now, so we'll see if that happens. But just know that our hope is that it will operate the same way and you won't have to actually create your own account as a teacher on code.org, that you will actually be able to just go straight through ClassLinks and have all of that set up and populated for you from section to section for your kids. So anyway, I'll have that adjusted on your updates, but this in Schoology is really where you're going to find all of the information and the support from a central support standpoint. This is where we would place it. So the updates, like I said, I don't typically put a whole bunch of stuff up there. It just kind of gives you an overview of what the course is and what to expect. I will say, if you haven't already, and especially in the times in which we find ourselves, having this discussion board, I think, is going to be super helpful, especially because we have such a cross section of teachers. So I know I've got some of you who maybe are teaching PE, or you're teaching art, or you might only be teaching one section of this the fourth quarter of the year, and that can be pretty daunting because you're not really going to focus on it until you get towards the end of the third quarter. So this is a really great space to go and create a discussion, to ask some questions, and to kind of pose that to some of your other teachers. And it kind of gives us a way to collaborate across the district, which, like I said, because we're not able to meet, and that's always difficult anyway. Teachers, you guys always have a million things that are on your plate, all those other duties as assigned, plus your family, plus, you know, just trying to grow as a teacher. So this is a really great way for us to be able to do this in the comfort of our own home, or our own office or classroom, or when we have a moment, or when we think about it. This is a great way, and I would absolutely encourage you to post some things on here. I'll be monitoring and moderating, answering what I can, and kind of throwing those things back out there for you all to answer and discuss as well. So most of what you're going to use in this Schoology group is going to be on this tab on the side on the left called Resources. And the Resources tab typically houses a whole bunch of stuff that you would use for the class, just based unit by unit. It's got all of the front matter information, it's got competency logs, stuff about our student organizations, because we are co-curricular, not extracurricular in business and information technology. And there are tons and tons of strategies that are listed in here, both for content and also for pedagogy. So just lots of different things that are in here, not intended at all to overwhelm you. What I try to do is kind of go through, and as I find things that I think are useful for you, I'll plug those in. As things go out of date, I try to pull those out or update links. But typically that's what's sitting in those strategies. Now, because we are in such an unusual situation this year, what we've tried to do is kind of pare all of that down and give you a place to start for the school year. And in that case, that's going to be this green folder here that I put at the top. You'll notice there's a training and updates folder. When this recording is finished, that's where this will go. And by the way, this training will show up. I did put it, submit it in Frontline. I don't know when it will show up, probably sometime this week or early next week, but I did put it in there so that you can receive points for doing this, whether you're doing this live or you're doing this asynchronously. You'll have the option to obtain points, I think probably through the end of September, I believe is how it'll be set up. But the training and updates will go up here. As we go through the year, if there are additional short videos or informational pieces that I think will be helpful for you, I'll just record those and upload those into this training and updates as well. That way, if there's something that you can't make it to, or the time just isn't fitting, because like I said, you've got cross content, so you've got meetings in other areas or stuff that you're doing for other folks. This way you don't have to miss it. You can still get that information and you can still watch it on your own, and shoot me those emails or post your questions under the discussions, which I think is even better. So that's what that is. But everything to get you started at the beginning of this year is going to be in this green folder, and that's your virtual learning support folder. The idea is that we've curated those few things that you're going to need to get you going, at least for the first 9 weeks. And it'll have a pacing guide, some links, and some suggested resources. You guys know there are tons of resources that are available to you, but the thought is the ones that are curated in here should be helpful in heavily supplementing and supporting virtual learning. So these are in no way intended to replace you as an educator, because that's not possible. A computer cannot do what you can do. And so it's really intended to supplement, but not to replace. So your professional knowledge, your pedagogy, your passion as a teacher, all of those are still integral in your students' success for the school year. So I definitely wanted to make sure we made a note of that. So let's go in here so I can kind of show you around. The very first thing that you're going to see at the top is a virtual learning pacing guide. Now, I know that the pacing at the middle school level is undergoing some changes. I know there's a lot of 4x4 things happening, and there's some other stuff going on. And I, to be honest, haven't heard yet of what the final solution is that they've landed on for this. So it made it a little bit challenging to create a pacing guide. So I would say maybe this is a good place to start, but don't feel like you have to stick with it. If we need to make some adjustments, we can do that. And certainly that would be probably a good thing to place on the discussion board. But essentially what I've done is I've taken the pacing and tried to break it down week by week. I'm wondering if I can open this up so you can kind of see the whole thing. There we go. Hopefully you guys can see this whole thing. But basically I've just taken the first 9 weeks, and the idea is that when we get to the end of the first 9 weeks, if we need to make one for the second 9 weeks, we'll go ahead and do that. And probably by the time we get to, week 5, we're going to know whether or not we need to go ahead and make one for the next 9 weeks. And even that, I think we may have a better idea of how that should look. And you guys, I'm sure, will have input on that, which is always way better than anything I can come up with. But I tried to just kind of make this as simplified as possible. So the first 4 weeks are the computer security and software. So that's all of that stuff I was talking about with the computer solutions. With the first 4 weeks, kind of, that would be the expectation. Is that what you're covering? And then you'll notice in this resources column, I tried to list the resources that would be used to help with those. So these are the things that you might be relying on pretty heavily. And then I listed the competencies that are out here on the right for each of those weeks. You'll notice as you hit week 5, which would technically be like unit 2, code.org is really solely what you're using. And for those of you who have done this before, code.org breaks down a lot of this stuff. So it makes it pretty easy because it goes day by day almost, lesson by lesson. The objectives are in there. I mean, it breaks it all the way down to what's needed for activities and how to check for understanding, all of that stuff. So I think that's going to be something that's super easy for you. Hopefully make your life a little bit easier. I know that we have talked in the past, for my teachers who've taught this before, about how we probably needed to revamp the pacing because the students were getting through everything. So maybe we needed to add a few more things in there, which I totally agreed with. And then the pandemic happened. And so I have not added anything to this because I was concerned about putting more pressure on the students and also more pressure on you to get through new content when there's been so much upheaval in the way that we're doing things, how information is being delivered. And so I thought better to just stick with what we have, see how that works. And if it works well, then great. If we need to tweak it, which I can't imagine we won't need to tweak it, then maybe that's something that we can kind of go back and address. If it seems like the students are getting through all of this stuff and they're just eating it up and, you feel like we need more content, then we absolutely can do that. But like I said, I did have a bit of a concern just because of all the changes that are happening, and the virtual learning is so new for everyone. So I've kind of left that one for now, but certainly it's something that we can revisit as we move forward after this first 9-week session. So that's the pacing guide that's at the top. And the next thing down is this course competencies and workplace readiness folder. So if you have had a chance to visit our Verso website, the CT website, you may notice that it looks very, very different. So they had late this spring or early summer of 2020, the entire website crashed. And so they are having to rebuild it. And in the meantime, all of the competencies and all of the things that you used to be able to click on while you're over there, they look very different. There's a lot of PDFs and things that they've plugged in up there. But I did want to at least provide some of the information and kind of share with you what's changed, because they did upload some revised items. So that's what's in here. So if I can just show you, these are the competencies that are listed. Now, it used to go to the actual website, but you will notice now it's taking you to a PDF. and it's taking you to all the versions of the PDF, and you'll notice that it just says Computer Solutions. Remember, that's because we heavily added local competencies for the coding component, so the only thing that's coming from the state are the Computer Solutions parts. But you'll notice that all of this is in a PDF format. One of the things that you will also notice is that a lot of those, all of those workplace readiness skills, competencies, the readying competencies, all of those are missing from the top. And that is because they have shifted them over into another location. So kind of the expectation hasn't changed, but the format has. So I'm going to show that to you here in just a second, just so you can see that. But I wanted to show you that so you could see what the competencies look like. And by the way, that is across the board what all of them will look like. So whether you're teaching a middle school elective course or you're teaching a high school credit bearing course like a digital applications, that's what those competencies are going to look like, because that's a Verso issue. Now, if you're looking for a complete list of competencies for this course, you're going to want to use this Word document, and that's because we have both the competencies that the state has for the computer solutions, as well as the competencies that are local that have all of the coding listed in there as well. So that's really what you want to use. I know this says 2018-19. It's all the same information. It's all good. You will see those workplace readiness skills on the front end, but that's not going to hurt you any. Okay, so let me show you a little bit about what happened to those workplace readiness skills. And for those of you who are new to any kind of TCE program, our workplace readiness skills are the first 38 competencies that are listed in any course across TCE or CTE as it's known anywhere else in the world. And those are all of these things that should be taught no matter what the content is. These are hard and soft skills that employers are looking for. So what I did is I kind of put a few of these things in here that I thought would be helpful for you as you're trying to figure out how you want to incorporate this into your classroom. So I have two different links that I would encourage you to look at. The first one is the CTEX teaching resources, and this actually has a couple of different websites on it that will help you with that. So there are whole learning modules. There's another resource site that's listed on there. They've got different links and stuff. I would encourage you just to kind of click on it and poke around. I think that's probably the best way sometimes to learn some of those things. And at the bottom are the workplace readiness skills competencies. So like I said, any courses that are taught, this says grades 9 to 12. We know it's really across the board for us. You are required to add those competencies. So this is where you can find those. So let me click on these just so you can kind of see. This is a PDF here that talks a little bit about it. So remember, you saw the PDF that just had the computer solutions competencies in it. This is a PDF that just has the workplace readiness skills in it. So if you're not sure what it means by, for example, demonstrate creativity and innovation, or what they're talking about, or what the objective is, this is a place that's going to kind of highlight some of those things for you. And inside of this are the links that will take you back to that other website that's got the resources in it. So I'm going to close out of this real quick so I can just click on those teaching resources briefly and show you where that goes. And of course, you can play with this all you want. I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time. I don't want to read things to you. I think that you guys are grown-ups and smart ones, so you're welcome to do that at your leisure. But I did at least want to click on it so I could show you what's out there and you can kind of see what's going on. We have for a long time, by the way, used ESCR website from Nevada. That's something that we've used a lot. And I think there's even an app that you can download on your phone that has some stuff in there. So I thought that was kind of interesting too. But this is CTEX. So there's a ton of information on here. And I think once you start clicking around, you're going to find some things that you like. So I'm excited to be able to offer that for you guys this year. All right, so let's go back to our main virtual learning support folder. So we've gone through the pacing guide. We've talked a little bit about the course competencies and the workplace readiness competencies. Now I want to share with you some of these resources that I wanted to highlight for you that I think are going to be helpful, beginning with typing.com. For those of you who have been with me for a few years, you know that we've been using EduTyping for the last few years, and it was up for renewal in June of 2020. And based on the fact that over the course of the time we had EduTyping, our 4-credit keyboarding courses went away, and those keyboarding and keyboarding applications competencies were incorporated into other classes. And the fact that some of these other companies like typing.com have really stepped up what they have and supplemented where they didn't have supplements before, really kind of made the decision for us to not renew edutyping.com and instead go with typing.com, which is actually a free resource for us. Now, what that does for us is it frees up money so that we can then go and make some other purchases for you all for things that maybe are of more interest to you, that might be beneficial, that might be fun. And we're going to get to some of those things that we decided to try this year for you. But to begin with, I wanted to at least share with you what typing.com is. And by the way, this resource is also supposed to be housed on ClassLink as well at some point. So I'm still waiting to hear back to find out to confirm whether or not that's something that they've already done or if it's just coming up. But that's the idea, is that, again, this would be very similar to EduTyping, where you can just go into ClassLink, it recognizes you as a teacher, and it populates your classes that are tied to you from the school, which is really cool. So for more about typing.com, we're going to go to the website, but it's got a lot of the same features that edutyping.com had, and it's free for you, it's free for your students. It's got a lot of good stuff in there. You can still customize your test, you can still check on the progress of your students. There's stuff in there for workplace readiness and for digital hygiene, all of that stuff. So I think you're really going to like it. So this is the website. This is just the basic landing page. So this is kind of where you originally arrive. And again, I would recommend you going through and just kind of poking around. I think it's probably you're gonna learn a little bit more by doing that before we get into any formal kind of training. So that's really what my recommendation would be. They've got a lot of really great stuff on here. And if I go back up here to the top, there we go, and I click on curriculum, they have your scope and sequence, hooray. But they also have all of the curriculum, so they can tell you all about what's available and what are some of the other things. So like when we were talking about the computer solutions component, those first 4 weeks, these are really great things that you could plug in there. So they've got different lessons already tied into their curriculum that they didn't used to have. So this is one of the reasons why I really felt like money for you guys was better spent elsewhere rather than trying to reinvent the wheel. So they've even got your career skills in here. That's part of your workplace readiness skills, the technology in the workplace, the word process, like all of this stuff. Plus, this is a really cool part. They have some coding essentials in there, which ties into the local competencies that we have to offer through this course. So I really thought that this was going to be a good choice. Like I said, there's a ton of stuff in here for you to take a look at and get started with. They're really responsive, so when you have questions, you can always reach out to them directly, and they're happy to you know, to help you out with that. So this is something for sure that I think is going to be helpful for you for the first 4 weeks, I would say, is probably when you're going to use that the most. So I won't scroll through anymore. Hopefully you're not getting dizzy, and I will let you peruse that at your leisure. So let's go on to the next one. The next resource that I know you're going to be spending a lot of time in is the code.org. And it's something that we've used for the past couple of years for this course. And we have kind of set it at the first 15 lessons of the CS Fundamentals Express course. So there are more than 15 lessons in the Express course. We just kind of paced it out based on how much time code.org thought it was going to take to cover some of these activities and lessons and so on. And so that's kind of how we did that. And like I said, we found that we probably could go beyond those 15 lessons and do a few more, but because of the way things have kind of happened with the pandemic and the virtual learning becoming a thing, we've just kind of decided to stick with the 15 lessons for now and see how we do with the virtual part. And if it's something that we can add to later, we can absolutely add. So inside here are just a couple of things. One, I wanted to give you an overview. If you're not familiar with code.org, it's got a ton of different courses that it offers, just depending on what you're looking for, what the age group is that you are teaching, how quickly you want to go through stuff, what kind of access you have to a computer. And one of the things that we opted to do for the foundations course, because this is something that is an overview and exploratory, we opted to go with the CS Fundamentals Express course. And the Express course is just a little bit faster than some of the other courses that they offer. Also, this is intended to be a 9-week course. So again, we're not going very deep. We really just want to introduce some topics. So this first link here is just going to tell you a little bit about what the CS Fundamentals Express course is, and you can kind of see in the brief description that I put in there where we talk about computational thinking and programming concepts, and there's some sequencing that happens in there and problem-solving skills. They got a lot of good stuff in there, and because it's all web-based, there's not a ton for kids to download. It means whether they're using their Chromebook or they're using a Windows-based device, you know, I think they might even be able to do it on like an iPad or a phone, depending. I haven't tried it on either one of those, but essentially for the most part, as long as they've got internet access, they're good with that. And that is super helpful for us. So this just kind of gives you the overview of what the course is. This down here gives you a viewpoint of the actual lessons, the activities. There are videos that are embedded in the course, all of that stuff. So this isn't necessarily going to give you from the teacher's point of view, because this is all the open information. So this would just kind of give you what the students would see. Once you are signed in and it recognizes you as an educator, a teacher, then you'll be able to access the teacher guide and all of the stuff for each of the lessons. But I thought for starters, this is probably something that's going to be super helpful for you. Down here is just kind of a getting started. Like I said, my hope is that they'll have all of this up and running on ClassLink, so you won't have to do anything but go to your home web page for your school and say, this is my name and I want to use that. But just in case they don't, here's the getting started on using code.org. And it's got a whole bunch of step-by-step, here's how you set all of your stuff up. And I also highlighted this one. They've got a ton of great stuff in their support section, to be perfectly honest, but this is using code.org as a teacher. And a lot of these companies that have education as their audience have done a great job of adding things in the last few months that are directly intended to help teachers with a remote learning environment. help teachers connect with their kids virtually. How do we do this? How do we operate this from the house? How do I do this if I'm not technology inclined? So that's why I put this last one on here, because I think that's one that's definitely going to help you take better advantage of the resource. So the typing.com, the code.org, and this year, brand new, one of the things that we opted to purchase for you because we did not do the EduTyping were Sphero Bolts. I am super excited about these. I'm kind of bummed that you will not be in the classroom where your students are going to be able to use them, but we're trying to come up with a way that maybe once they're back in the school, we can find a way for the kids to use them, or maybe there's a way to get them to check it out, or maybe there's a way to share it between siblings, something. We're still being a little bit creative with that, trying to come up with a way to make these work with some of the virtual learning that's happening. But Sphero Bolts are this really cool, it almost looks like a toy, but you are learning about coding. So it's a training tool, but it looks like a toy. And so we purchased these cases. Basically, there are 1 or 2 cases at each middle school location that offers foundations. So these bolts are intended for use in the foundations class. I have a couple of other things that are being piloted for the part 2 class. It takes us about a year to do a pilot and then to get approval and then to roll this out. So we actually piloted the bolts last year. They did really well. And so we were able to purchase the bolts and do the training this summer for the bolts. So this has really been in the works for a little while. But the bolts, in order to get you kind of started, we did offer a training. I don't know if you saw that back here. Here we go. We did offer a training on July 30th, and that was actually run by Mary Warren and Lindsay Slaughter. They are, at least currently in 2020, they are both over at Salem Middle School. They are fabulous, fabulous teachers. And they were the ones who actually held the virtual training. So inside this folder here, I do have a link to the actual training. So they did a Google Meet for the training, and they've got a whole presentation that's set up in there. So you can click on this link. As long as you're logged in under your VBCPS ID, it'll be fine. If you're like me and you have multiple Google accounts, I've got home Google accounts and work Google accounts and all kinds of stuff, you may just need to switch which account it is. Otherwise, it'll tell you that you need to request access. So just know that. But it's really great. Also, Mary Warren and Lindsay Slaughter, excuse me, are amazing women. And I know that they would be happy to answer any follow-up questions that you have, or do maybe a virtual meeting if you want some help getting stuff set up or troubleshooting anything. I know that they would be happy to do that. So in here, what I also did is I put a couple of links about what the Sphero Bolt Power Pack is, which is what was actually purchased for you. So it looks like a little suitcase, and it's got a bunch of tiny spheres inside and all kinds of stuff. So it looks really cool, but this will just kind of give you pictures and a step-by-step, and here's what you use this for, and here's how it works and what it is. And then down here is actually a video and an activity that Sphero put together. So this wasn't done by VBCPS. This was actually Sphero, and they did it specifically to help folks get to know the Sphero Bolt. So I think this is well worth the watch and well worth the activity. And I think that you will feel far more comfortable with your new toy if you take some time to go through some of these. And barring bringing all of us together in one room and everybody having their power packs out and being able to talk to one another and try stuff out. I think this is a good runner-up, a good second best. And like I said, I know Mary and Lindsay would be happy to chat with you. You know, if you've got some questions about how to get that started, or you have an idea for something that you want to try. So the next thing that we did, so again, this was something that we purchased with money that we would have used for EduTyping. We got this for our folks, and that is the e-readiness bundle through BE Publishing. I know a lot of you, especially in my business and information technology crew, have used BE Publishing products before. They're really cool, although they can be limited. And I was very excited to see that this year they have rolled out an e-readiness bundle. So we have purchased this, hooray, hooray. And it's going to take a little bit of time for us to actually get it here. So it is in the order process. So the PO has been put out, the order's been placed. It just may take a minute to get it here, and it is currently August. In the meantime, though, they do have a free trial available through August 31st of 2020. So if you're watching this video in the summer of 2020, I would absolutely encourage you to take advantage of that free trial. Basically, it gives you all the information and all of access to all the things that you would have once you have this access to the e-readiness bundle. Now, once we have access to that, I'm going to take all of this information out of here and replace it with our subscription information. But basically what it does, and the link and everything will get you right over there so you can actually watch the video and you know, and read it. But I put a whole bunch of it in here as well, just to be, I don't know if it's truly helpful or not. I thought it might be, but basically it covers everything that, all of the different topics that BE Publishing has, they've put in their e-readiness bundle. So you'll see that it includes 60 different titles, that it can be used on any device, that you can do it virtual learning, you can do it face-to-face. There's unlimited access for teachers and students. They have text that you can download. And it just seemed like that might be a really great resource for us to use, especially since we have a lot of crossing back and forth of teachers who teach a lot of different things that all fall under that business and information technology program. So the reason that we included it in here is because it's got some tech readiness stuff in there. It's got some computer apps and some career readiness stuff that's in there, some cyber safety. And I will tell you that in the bundle, in each of these subject areas, the information that they offer isn't necessarily consistent. So it's not like they each have a book and lessons and activities and, you know, quizzes and that's it. It really varies depending on what's available for each of these, but they do seem to be continuing to add items through that, and we have access to all of that as it's uploaded. So I was really kind of excited about that. And like I said, what I would do, and this is actually what I did, but if I were you in here, I would go ahead and sign up for the trial, and I would poke in here to see what it is that I might want to use for my course. And then I would download the stuff, because what they do is once you've signed up, they give you basically a passcode for the courses that you're interested in or the subjects that you're interested in. And then you can go and plug those in, and once you do, it opens up the access for all of that particular subject. So, and you can download it then, and or go into the websites or whatever. So that's what I would do if I were you, is I would look at the things that I might want to use for my foundations or supplement, and go poke around in that and see if it's something that's beneficial for you. I am very hopeful that it is. That would be great if it is. So anyway, that's kind of what we've got for your virtual learning support. Like I said, the focus for us with this virtual learning support is really the first 9 weeks, but I have a sneaking suspicion that that's not where it's going to end. I really think that we've started with the first 9 weeks, but we're probably going to add the second 9 weeks, and so on and so on, just because there's kind of a big question mark for the 2020-2021 school year and how all of this is going to play out, and what's going to be best for our kids. So this is what we've got though for our foundations of creative coding and computer solutions. If you guys have questions, you are always welcome to reach out to me. I'm more than happy to answer those, or pair you with other teachers who are strong in this area. I'm not sure if you all are able to see the members on the side. I'm hopeful that you do. I think you can, but but if not, just let me know. But I try to keep the members updated. I know I've got a few I probably need to delete because they retired or moved on, but this is a good place sometimes to start as well. So if you've posted some things in our discussions and you just can't seem to get the answer you need, or you've reached out to me and we've worked together and you're still feeling a little iffy about some stuff, you're always welcome to kind of go through here and see who are the other members who are also teaching this, and reach out to them as well and say, hey, this is some stuff that I'm struggling with, or I'd love some input on. Would you be willing to work with me? And I don't think there's anything wrong with that either. I think the smarter we can work rather than the harder we work, I think that's always going to be a good thing for us. So hopefully this has been a helpful training for you. It will be uploaded into the training and updates later on, no later than September 1st. It just depends on how quickly I'm able to get everything compressed and uploaded in a format that is readable. Usually I try to do both an MP4 format as well as uploading it onto a YouTube channel that's specifically for training for BIT courses. So usually I try to put both those links in there. But let me go ahead and stop my screen sharing. I thank you for being here today, and I hope you guys have a fabulous, fabulous rest of your summer. I look forward to working with you.